18 people, presumed to have been migrants, have been killed in a forest fire in Greece, according to local authorities. Their bodies were found in Dadia Forest, which is near to the Turkish border, and work's underway now to identify the corpses, which were found in 2 groups.
Fires and destruction seem to be taking place all over the world currently. But what strikes me are the locations. Most of the happenings, the so-called accidental wildfires, are happening in places which I've already identified as trees, such as Tenerife and the Canary Islands. Wildfires happening in America, very close to the tree location I have highlighted near the Nevada desert, and also in Hawaii, a place I haven't covered.
Jesus, please help us!
This morning, as new videos show the inferno that engulfed Lahaina and how residents spent hours in the ocean to survive, anger is growing. How did the nation's deadliest wildfire happen with no warning?
But to me, looks clearly a tree location. What seems to be consistent and prominent, that the destruction is taking place on previous giant tree locations. But more so than that, the destruction of our smaller, ancient trees seems to be happening on this large scale and has been happening for a number of years now. Earlier this year, we had the cotton tree destroyed. The cotton tree, something spoke about by myself and Michelle Gibson in previous videos. It's such a shame that this tree has been destroyed. Ultimately, we only touched upon it a few months ago.
Sierra Leone's national symbol, now nothing more than a stump. After 400 years, Freetown's cotton tree was finally felled by a storm on Wednesday. It's a loss that the country's president has described as leaving a gap in people's hearts.
This tree has served so many purposes, and one of the purposes of this tree, it has served as an iconic symbol. Some school of thought says this place was meant for the slaves where they sat down, they were singing their rhymes because they were just from the colonial era.
According to legend, slaves who won their freedom fighting on the British side of the American War of Independence prayed under the tree when they arrived in West Africa and founded Freetown. It's since adorned banknotes and stamps and has become a place of prayer for the residents of Sierra Leone's capital.
And more recently, the wildfires have destroyed a banyan tree in Hawaii, an ancient tree. And these aren't the only ancient trees being destroyed. In 2022 in Bengal, we saw the big banyan tree was destroyed by the rain. In 2020, a cyclone hit West Bengal and wreaked havoc in the areas it tore through, destroyed cities, towns and trees. Near me, I had an ancient tree fall in a prominent place near me called Clent. Clent would have been a previous tree location, an ancient giant tree location. It still has its smaller ancient trees, which are slowly being destroyed. There was also a big storm a few years ago in Scotland, Storm Arwen, which ultimately killed and affected millions of trees.
2 men have been killed by falling trees as Storm Arwen hit parts of the UK with high winds, rain and snow. The storm caused damage across Scotland, Northern England, the Midlands and Wales, with winds of nearly 100 miles an hour, leaving more than 100,000 homes without power. There are further weather warnings across the UK today, as Emily Unia reports.
Storm Arwen brought winds of more than 90 miles an hour to pummel the coast of northeast Scotland. The Met Office issued a rare red weather warning, meaning there was a potential risk to life.
You can barely stand up.
It's funny how we have the combination of methods. There is no one method used. It can be fire, rain, water, wind, earth, lightning.
That scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and
lightning in 2022 destroying a giant redwood in Sheffield Park. There seem to be trees falling on houses, and it seems to be happening more than ever all across the world.
It's been, and the only thing we've heard more today than the sound of falling trees is longtime residents right here saying they've never seen it like this before, this windy before. So tonight, we do have crews all over the Bay Area tracking all of the damage. And get this, our photojournalist, Rick Villaroman, was right in the middle of interviewing a Redwood City man about falling trees when this happened.
And I started to tell him it looks like it's leaning. There it goes. There it goes. Oh my God. Oh.
Also, trees falling at golf tournaments.
The second round of the Masters was suspended today because of inclement weather, which also led to at least 3 trees falling right onto the course. The uprooted pines fell slowly, as you see here, 2 of them acting as support for the 3rd tree. The trees went down right where a crowd was watching along the 17th tee. Fortunately, no one was injured.
Again, golf course is something I've spoke about previously, relating it to the trees, relating it to the underground facilities, relating it to the harvesting of the grid, and trees are falling in these locations. With all this said, it is clear that the destruction of our trees is taking place, but more so than that, they seem to want people to hate these trees, not care for them, fear them, turn on them, and not care about the destruction. As for if trees are falling at golf tournaments and at houses and themselves causing destruction on humans, we may start to see them as a threat. And much higher than this, if we look at the world's agenda of it being dark and evil, the trees are our mothers, our lights, what gives power to the grid and ultimately allows us to connect. So the more of these ancient trees that are being taken, it's affecting our grid, our reality, and the realm. With trees being organic, being alive, and the destruction of these trees ultimately affecting the attitudes of the populations across the world. We feel the pain, we feel the destruction, and even if we weren't aware of it via the news, it still seems that it would be present on us, hindering us, feeling this dark, thick mist which is upon us like a veil. Just a few days ago in Victoria, Australia, a tree was damaged by vandalism. The mocking, the damage and the destruction of the earth and the trees only seem to be getting worse. Trees key to the grid, key to life, key to us. First the giant mother trees were taken, and now the smaller ancient trees are also being taken. Without going into too much depth, the purpose of this video was to show you that the destruction we are currently seeing in the world and the attack on the trees is nothing new, but has been going on for a number of years, and slowly as the years amount, the destruction amounts too, until we reach a time where all of our ancient trees and the destruction of the grid has been taken too far. We must see this destruction stand up. Please share the video, make people aware that this is not a natural occurrence and this is a targeted attack. We should not fear nature, we should show it love and compassion, for it is all a systematic, targeted attack on our trees, nature and the realm. As stated before, this is nothing new, but more people are growing aware to it, more people are waking up, and the more people that wake up, the larger the army of light grow. To ultimately stop this, awareness is key. Please share, love and light to you, love and light to all, and most importantly, love and light to our ancient and beloved trees.
Liar, liar, the world's on fire. What you gonna do when it all burns down? Fire, fire, burning.
falling and the destruction of the trees actually remind me of something else. It reminds me of 9/11 and the destruction of the Twin
This
Towers.
is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now raining.
Which has been argued since it happened was controlled demolition. When we look back at the 1990s period and the early 2000s, it seems to be the same story. Myself, in 1999, near Halesowen in England, experienced two towers being demolished in a controlled manner. And when we compare this to the 9/11 Twin Towers scenario and the way they fell, it's a very similar scenario. So it seems in the 90s and early 2000s, the controlled destruction of our tower blocks were undertaken. Just over a decade later, it seems to be the same story with our trees. Now for me, trees can be compared to towers, nature's towers. It reminds me of the 90s film Demolition Man. As the film came out in the early 90s, the tower blocks started to come down more severely. When we just look at the UK, we can see how this controlled demolition has took place. From the early 90s, as said, flats, subways, the whole of Birmingham reconstructed, another estate in Albury, another tower block, the Aston Villa football ground in the early 2000s, the Bullring, more towers at Leebank in 2000, the demolition of a chimney near Worcester, the demolition of the motorway circus, more demolitions in the early 2000s, 2002 to 2004. More high-rises come down, and even Wembley Stadium in 2002. More tower blocks spread throughout the West Midlands. But this is something that didn't just take place in the West Midlands, but all across the UK and all across the world. If you were to look locally to yourself, in the 90s and early 2000s, we can see huge amounts of tower block coming down. And as stated before, I compare this to the destruction and manipulation and control of our realm, the destruction of our trees and the grid. From the man-made to the natural, all is slowly being destroyed.
You're stuck in a hole, let me throw you a rope. If you need my help, you're never alone, you're a warrior of the light. May you've lost all your hope, shouted and closed. You need a light, shine on you bright. Nourish your soul, make you feel so whole again, make you a home again. Brothers and sisters, we're warriors of the light. Yes, we're warriors of the light. Stand with us till you're a warrior.